they both believed in the value of teaching their children responsibility and giving them hands-on work to do where they could learn to do a task and do it well and have that sense of accomplishment.
My parents really felt that work was a skill that you taught children, and before I was born, they bought the house that I grew up in with that goal in mind. Everybody had work that had to be done because the place we lived required it.
We had chickens, ducks, rabbits, and even a lamb because he wanted to teach us how to work.
Yeah, we raised chickens and rabbits and ducks and cats. I remember seven baby, that cute mother cat. She was Cinders. Her name was Cinders, and she had 7 kittens. And I remember them chasing the ducks would nip at the cats, and the cats, I just remember the cats and the ducks not being friends.
Well, and there was purpose in that. Dad wanted us to learn to be responsible, learn to work.
They were for us to take care of. I mean, that was the purpose was for us to learn responsibility. Yeah.
Once I was left to take care of the rabbit. It's a big mama rabbit, big white, and she died. It was pretty traumatic. I was a child. I don't think I did anything to cause it.
They always taught us from the time we were tiny to work, by working with us. I remember when I was 5, we moved to 27th Street when I was 5, so sometime between 5 and 8 probably, I helped paint the fence. And it was green and it was very dark and it was messy and I was sloppy. But Dad let me do it, and I felt very proud of myself that I did a good portion of painting that fence. And he was right beside me and helped me, and I don't remember not helping.
They also taught us to be responsible and to try to be self-sufficient from the time we were small. So I remember being young and knowing that I wanted to buy Christmas gifts for my parents and for my siblings. And so I remember knitting dishcloths and weaving hot pads and selling them, going door to door through the neighborhood, selling them. I think I sold them, I can't remember if it was for 25 cents each. That seems like it was high. It may have been for less than that, 10 cents or 15 cents each. And saving enough money that when our ward had a bazaar, which I don't think they even have anymore. I mean, I don't know if my kids would even know what that was. I remember taking my own money that I had earned from those, from making those things and selling them, and using that money to buy Christmas gifts for my sisters and for my parents.
I remember my kindergarten teacher telling my mother that I was very responsible, and my mother repeated that to me, and she and her, I don't remember what she said, I just remember her attitude was sort of, well, yeah, you better be, you know. They were responsible, and we didn't know that you could be anything else.
As you know, I'm the 4th of 5 children and the only boy. It was often that I would hear people say, you must have really been spoiled being the only boy. And I'd laugh about that, but it would cause me to think about, was I really spoiled or not? And my view is, obviously it's a biased view, but it is that I was not. Because I don't think my parents treated me differently than my sisters in many very practical ways. From the time I was very little, I was expected to do the same things that they did. I was expected to keep my room clean, to make my bed, to clean up after myself, to take my dishes from the table. I was not exempt from doing the dishes because I was the boy in the family. At the same time, there were jobs that were clearly my jobs. For example, I don't remember my sisters mowing the lawn. They may have, but from the time I was old enough to be able to mow the lawn that was my responsibility, and to work in the yard. I know my sisters helped plant and garden. I don't think to the same extent that I did. My dad gave me very specific assignments in the yard and in the orchard, in the garden, that were much more than my sisters had. But in terms of household duties and responsibilities, I felt like I had to pitch in just like they did. The girls may have been taught how to cook. My mother never really focused on teaching me how to cook.
And Mother would work with us. She showed us how to do things, and from the time we were tiny we had chores. And she taught us to sew and to do homework and to fix meals. She had beautiful flowers. So many times we were fixing lunch while she was out fixing her flowers. So we had lots of opportunities to do cooking. But mostly growing up, what I did was clothing construction. I made all of my clothes and helped make clothes for others, and mending.
But we all had assignments to take care of the animals and take care of the yard, and they were planned specifically to teach us to work. And we had Saturday jobs. Everybody had something that they were assigned to do every Saturday morning. My job every Saturday morning was clean the refrigerator. And my parents were really good about making sure that you knew what was expected and you knew you could do it, and then they would just let you do it, which, you know, taught us independence and responsibility. And our refrigerator did not need to be defrosted every single week. I didn't know that because that was my job, and it empowered me. I mean, it was really important.
Pardon me, the whole time I grew up, we never had a dishwasher. And we'd complain and whine and say, we need a dishwasher. And Dad would say, we don't need a dishwasher. We have 5 dishwashers. Why do we need a dishwasher?
We did have chores as a family, and the biggest challenge was the dishes, because we didn't have a dishwasher. And so every week at family home evening we would redo the dish schedule, and we'd always have tears, and Dad was patient and would always end up fine for another week.
We had dish towels, and so we would take turns washing at one time and drying another time. And as I recall, we worked in teams, so I might do the dishes with Jeannie or with Mary Ann or Marsley or whoever. And very rarely by ourselves. It was always with someone else. I remember sometimes trying to get out of doing the dishes or thinking that I was being put upon. And my parents were very strict. I mean, they wouldn't give on that. I remember sometimes we'd squabble. I'd say squabble. Fight's too harsh a term, over the dishes. So it wasn't always pleasant for us, but we did it.
My brother and I used to, it was kind of like a daily ritual that we would have an argument over the dishes. And I think, I remember once my mother saying, you're going to make a good lawyer because you're such a good arguer. I never could win an argument with him, but I wouldn't quit. You know, I just keep going and going. And yeah, my mother used to make fun of us because it was like we felt we had to, it was like obligatory that you had to argue over the dishes, over whose turn it was to wash and whose turn it was to dry, and who, you know, I don't know, all the things that we would argue over. But
So we all helped with the dishes, but Mary Ann liked to clean the family room and mop the floor, and I liked to do the ironing. And so those were the main things I remember doing during the school year, as I did the family ironing. And I usually tried to help sew clothing.
So, and I remember my mother sitting and reading to us while we did our jobs sometimes. If our jobs took a long time to do, rather than saying, you know, you can get out of doing this, she would sit and read to us. Or I remember taking turns. You work for a while and I'll read, and then you read for a while and I'll work. I remember mopping the floor while my mother read, and then I remember her mopping the floor while I read. And we, especially when my mom went back to school when I was in high school. And I remember also when my brother started seminary, he would have been 9th grade, first year he had seminary, he had to read through the Book of Mormon. And so we made it a family project, and we would, especially on Saturdays, but every day, we would read the Book of Mormon while we did our jobs, while we did our work. So one person in the family would read and the other ones would listen while they were sweeping or dusting or mopping or whatever, cleaning the refrigerator.
One summer, we decided we would take a trip to Canada. The year before, or the year leading up to that vacation, we decided that we would market our produce. So we took extra care that year in planting the vegetables and harvesting them. And we really produced quality tomatoes and other fruit, peaches and pears that we could sell to the grocery store. And we had a local grocery store on the corner of 12th Street in Washington. My dad was good friends with the grocer there, and they paid us for the produce. I can't imagine that would happen today. It just wouldn't happen. And the money we saved went into a family kitty, which we used to pay our vacation expenses for that vacation.
Doug and Jeannie took the tomatoes and polished them up and sold a bushel to the store. I think they made $300 with the bushels that came after that, and we used that for our vacation that summer. When that was after we'd given away everything we could give. So.
That was a great sense of accomplishment. I think that Jeannie and Helen Mar and I benefited, were part of that experience, and that gave us a great sense of pride. So I remember going to the grocer, talking to them, asking them what the going rate for that they would pay wholesale for the tomatoes and for the beans. I know we sold string beans and carrots and other things, and we were really excited that they would buy them and that other people would be going to the store to buy our vegetables.